I have this saying. I used to have this saying a lot. I don't say it anymore because I've just kind of gotten over it, and it's just the nature of the beast. And the saying is, nobody wants to do the work, but everybody wants to take credit for it. Um, and is when you go through the whole academic game, you realize that there's a lot of people that um, they want to take credit for your work because that's the way that the incentives actually are. But it's very hard to actually do the work. Um, and for the most part, nobody wants to put in all of the grinding hours that it takes to get there. And then there is this uh, I can't say this word, pernicious, pernicious sort of underlying thing is that there's just a lot of steps and it's highly complicated and very few people can get from here to there. And so it's easy for all of us to assume we could just put our name on a particular thing and then we get credit for that particular thing. Now, here's the thing. I think that this is just rampant everywhere. This is not like, oh, this is only a thing that happens in the R&D game. It happens absolutely everywhere in all walks of life. Um, but here's the thing that I'm just kind of over it at this point. Is this where I'm learning. I haven't learned, right? And I've never learned, even when I'm 80, I'm still learning. I'm learning to just let go of all of that stuff, right? Learning to let go of, um, credit. So I got sort of two sides to the coin. Learning to let go of credit, learning to let go of, that I have to just put in the work, right? Um, and it's not that. What do I mean by that? I'm just learning that this is, it's just a stupid job. Right? Like everything is just a stupid job. Like who cares? And you just put in the work. Um, and then yeah, you know what? You can get caught up in all of the fairness and all of that kind of stuff. But it's just at the end of the day, that's just you can't fix it because it's just outright nonsense. Um, so you just go forward with what you actually have, right? And you be yourself, realize that there is just a job to be done and it doesn't really kind of matter in the end, right? Like it's all kind of just stupidity. So there's that side, but then there's the other side. I am like very, very protective now about um like ownership. And I know that's like kind of contradictory. There's like two sides of the same coin. One side, I'm just like, whatever. But the other side, I am very, very well aware that this sort of, manipulative behavior does happen a lot. And I am a lot more protective with, my time and setting things up so that like I have ownership. It is my thing, right? And that's part of the whole reciprocity project is I needed something for me that was distinctive so people could see, yeah, you know what, he does work really hard. And yeah, it does do a lot of stuff that was highly distinctive from what other people could do, right? And that's the key thing is thinking about what are these key things that it's distinctively you that other people are not going to just kind of encroach in on because, oh yeah, this is wonderful. Um, but here's the thing. This is the thing that's like the great irony is that those two sides intermingle, right? Is that when and if, and it's already taken off. I'm going to say this right now, but when the whole Reciprocity project really starts taking off, there will be a lot of vultures that will come in, want to take, various different credits for it and all of that kind of stuff. But what and I'm smiling because I know that this is just natural human behavior. It's to be expected. And then that's where you got to go on the other side and just say, hey, it's just I'm just doing a job. It's no biggie. If it wasn't me, it was somebody else that would have done the exact same thing. Um, and you just, you gotta really learn how to roll with all of it. Otherwise, you'll just beat yourself up. You'll go insane. Like it's very much just taking a step back and saying, is all of this anxiety and tension, all that kind of stuff, is that worth it, right? To look at. And then this also relates to the whole comparison game, right? We're sort of always comparing ourselves, and why is that person so much more successful than that person and so much more successful than me? It's because they play those games, right? Like that's what it comes down to. They're playing those games all of the time, right? In various different ways. And you just gotta accept that that's happening. Know that you're on the inside, quote unquote inside, that all of that happens, and just love yourself along the way, right? Like that ultimately is taking a step back and saying, wait a minute, like, so be it, right? Like, let that all happen. Yeah. So what? Right? Like, who cares? And I know when you hear me say that, like I say that all the time, right? To people, and they get like really upset and tense. They're like, well, it affects everything. Okay. So you're going to be anxious and angry and upset all of the time because of the antics we play. I mean, I guess if you want to live like that, I choose to be a good person. This is it. I choose to be a good person, put out as much goodness as I possibly can, which means there's constraints when I say that, right? Like there is constraints and everything. I can't get to everything. There is, politics at play. There's all of that kind of stuff. But I try to be as good of a person as I can. And I'm going to treat people with dignity and respect. And I'm going to be, humble as best as I possibly can, like all of that kind of stuff. And then let everything just kind of figure it out. And which means, hey, there's two sides that are going to happen with that kind of attitude, right? One side is I get permanently screwed over for the rest of my life because people are going to take advantage of me. Okay, that's a possibility, and I shrivel up and nothing happens, right? Which, you look at a lot of actors that have done good things, like Nikola Tesla, for example. That was kind of his story. If you, by the way, invented virtually all of modern society, the way that we understand it around electricity. But, this one back side of the coin, you can end up being like that, but then you can also end up being, okay, this person plays fair. I want to work with this person. And then you're looped into various different things because it's a lot less drama. Both sides are likely to happen. But both, I think maybe on the one side that I likely will never be the superstar. But here's the thing. I can go to bed at night knowing I tried to be a kind, humble individual. And I tried to be as good of a person as. There's this book that I read. It's called The Sociopath Next Door, and these things like narcissism and narcissistic personality disorder and sociopathy. They're kind of related. The basic story is that they're just people are highly self-centered, and the reason why they're either self-centered because of sociopathy is they just don't have any social conscience, like they just don't feel anything, and then like narcissism is where you're driven by shame, based on things that happened to you in the past. From my understanding, I'm not an expert in these areas, but those things are there's a lot of people in the population. It's like 10-20%, somewhere around there. The population, probably those things combined is probably even a little higher. So a lot of people have these things, but at the end of the book, of them describing these scenarios, what all of that is like. Talk about like you're just gonna go home and go to bed and be a nice person and know that you are a good person inside, that you're trying to do your best, and you just let everything happen. And I think ultimately that's what you have to decide to do is, are you going to play those games? Are you going to be part of all of that and get all caught up in it? Or are you going to decide to be just a good person and be okay with that? Both are perfectly good options. I choose to stay out of it and to try to do my best every day and to love myself as much as I possibly can, love my family, love, the small group of people that I associate with as best as I possibly can, and go forward with that. That's it. Simple, easy living seems to be the way that works well for me. All right, take care. Have a wonderful